Hey guys, this is Tisha D. Colston, the Marketplace Evangelist, and I'm coming to you live to answer this question that is on the screen, and that is making money a spiritual activity? Yes, is making money a spiritual activity? And again, we are reading and reviewing the business secrets from the Bible, and the author is Rabbi Daniel Lapine, and he is also the author of Thou Shall Prosper. Just to give you guys a heads up, my all my technology devices seem to be acting up. We need to help me pray for those things. I keep trying to go live on my computer, but it's just not working. It's time for a new computer. Y'all are praying with me, right, for a new computer because it's coming soon. Anyway, so making money, is it really a spiritual activity? And I think that oftentimes that we don't look at the spiritualness in the things, in the simpleness of the things that we do, or even in the difficultness of the things that we do. We just look at things as that's what we do. We go to work, we make money. We never look at it as spiritual, or I should say we never, but a lot of people do not look at these things as, well, is it a spiritual activity, or even ask those kinds of questions. So this is a great point. This is secret number 5 in the book. And so one of the things that he points out right at the very beginning is that all human activities can be located somewhere on the spiritual end. It's anchored on one end by spirituality and on the other end by physicality. And so praying, he gives kind of praying is at the one end of the scope. And then maybe some other thing somewhere might be in the middle, which would give both equally, would be, he notes in here, new life and sex also as something that's in the mid of the spectrum. And then eating and other types of body functions would be on the other end of the spectrum, more physicality than spirituality. So when you look at those three characteristics, or those three actions, where does the commercial transactions fit in? Where does making money fit in? And so what he goes on to say is that when a man exchanges coins in his pockets for goods, he for the goods he desires, is he performing a physical act, or is he performing a spiritual one? And so one way of identifying, and this is just good for us all to know, that one way of identifying spiritual acts is can a chimpanzee do it? Could a dog do it? Is that something that they would consider doing, or think about? My dog would never think about, making an exchange for goods and services. An animal would not think of that, okay? And so, or you could think about it as a machine. A machine is my phone. In and of itself, it's a machine. It would not think about making a transaction. It's the human that's behind it that programs it, or has to make it to perform the action. And so if this is a way to look at it, if it's a spiritual activity or somewhere on the spiritual, along the spiritual spectrum, is that he says, if a human soul is indispensable for a certain process, that process is at least partially spiritual. If the human soul is needed, then it has spirituality. And if it's not needed, then it's more physicality. Then it is physicality than it is spirituality. And so, and he goes on to give a couple of different examples, but then when you look at then the relationship between, or the act of making money, it requires human intervention. Not only requires human intervention, it also requires a soul intervention, right? You can't just make money without a soul intervention. And so this places the entrepreneurism more on the spirituality side of the spectrum than it does on the physicality side of the spectrum. We also must consider the relationship between currency and God, and so he goes on to talk about, God's favor springs forth from the Bible and from the Hebrew language itself, in which the word for God's favor is shen. And so talks about the English words being coin and gain, and also for the Chinese word for coin is chen. And so so many similar words in other languages. And so we can see the correlation with the Torah and in the Bible, as far as what the word is saying to us and what the words are actually meaning. And so also another key point that I'm not going to be before you long today, is that economics used to be a field of study that belonged within the realm of religion and theology. I thought that was a great point to bring out, is that it belonged within the realm of religion and theology. So here's the thing. It's difficult for a successful business professional to remain self-centered. It's hard for you to remain self-centered because the very act of making money is centered around serving people. You have to begin to look at it as the act of entrepreneurism is identifying people's needs. It's finding a problem and fixing it. You're fixing it. You find a solution, you make the solution, and you are selling the solution. We talked about this extensively in our last talk with secret number 4, about the very act of that, about the very act of serving is really what it is, and being comfortable with making money, because this is exactly how goods and services are exchanged. I need something, you have it. I'm willing to exchange services, or I'm willing to exchange coins. That's something that I can go and take and use to do somewhere else. I may not want what you have. That's really what it is. I may not want what you have. You're going to give me some money that I can go and take and buy what it is that I want. And there's a spirituality, a spiritual connection in that. Is that preoccupying. Remember that it is that God wants us to be preoccupied with each other's needs. Secondly, he says the belief in the relationship between God and the marketplace helps us integrate our career into our greater life, so that we need not regard those daily 8 or 10 hours a day that we spend at work as a faintly distasteful and isolated part of the work. Like business is business. No, it's not just business is business, because you have to include God in that picture of those things that you are doing. You are exchanging services. God is in your soul, right? You have to know that you are dealing with other people's souls and, other people. God is all in the mix. It's all intertwined with that. And so we have to look at that, even going to work, as being more of a spirituality than on the spiritual spectrum than we previously thought. It's not just a physical thing. And we're going to get a check. Those things have been modernized, yes, to where we don't even have to get a check and deposit anymore. We can just look online and see if the check has been deposited. And so what it does is it takes out what we know to be spiritual in these interactions, but they still are spiritual in fact. So his last one says, finally recognizing the congruency between work and spiritual reality. The business professional is all the better able to sell himself and his product. His work is creative and therefore a legitimate way of emulating God and his infinite creativity. And so that's what it all boils down to. I'm going to read this last point. The difference between the animal instinct of a squirrel gathering nuts and inherently and the inherent nobility of a human being earning a living becomes clear when you perceive economic enterprise in its correct position at the spiritual end of the spectrum. A squirrel goes and he gathers his nuts from the tree, as opposed to the human who has a different perception on economics. Okay, will help you to know that it is at the spiritual end of the spectrum. So to answer the question what do you think now? Is money making a spiritual activity? You bet it sure is. God is all up in your spiritual exchanges because he is all up in you, right? And so if I can say it that way and no one get offended. And so you want to remember that and keep that at the forefront of your mind, because it will help you when you are doing business with people, as you go about your daily days and keeping things with integrity, right? People don't do things with integrity because they don't understand that it's a spiritual activity. Okay, and we just talked about how to define if it's a spiritual activity. If the dog can do it, it's probably not along that line. If the computer can do it, it's probably not along that line. But if it takes soul intervention to do it, then it is more on the line of spirituality. And so is money making, because it takes you to do it. My dog doesn't think about going out to go get a job to make money to pay the bills. Okay? He is at the mercy of nature, and of course, if she was not in this house, okay, if she were not around, then she would be out there, and she would not be considering going to make a living, okay, to get food. She would be scavenging just like the crows and all that. They look for food. So we can definitely see how making money is a spiritual activity. So, I'm about to get on this. I'm going to jump off here really quick because my mentor, Myron Golden, he's called Millionaire Minister. Okay. Millionaire Minister. You want to go get on his lives. He's on a live now talking about my first commission run for the Virtual Millionaires Club. So I want to tell you, I want to invite you to the Virtual Millionaire Club. And what you can do, I'll put it in the description of this video or in the comments, but you go to bit.ly/virtual millionaire. So what is the Virtual Millionaire? The Virtual Millionaire Club is an educational platform that teaches financial literacy and business development using biblical principles. And they are taught by millionaire minister Myron Golden. Hey, go read his book. He has a book called From the Trash Man to the Cash Man. Okay, but the man knows his Bible and he understands the principles of the Bible as it relates to our financial dependency on God. And oh man, he had a live last week that just blew us all away about focusing on the lack. Are you focusing on the lack? Anyway, because if I get to talking about that, we will never get off. So I'm going to go ahead online. I'm going to share with you also in the comments the link to that, to the link to this live, so that you can view this next one that he's coming up with today. I don't know how many times a week he's going to go online today, but I'll share that with you. Again, if you want to check us out at the Virtual Millionaire Club, then go to bit.ly/virtual millionaire. Anyway, this is Tisha D. Coaston, the Marketplace Evangelist. Until the next time when we go over number 6. I won't tell you what that is. Okay, bye.